Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lex and I kind of just ran here. So sorry I look a little crazy, but apparently Daeshon, ex-wife of Bry, spoke out about Tyler's Your Wifey podcast. There has been a lot of buzz about this podcast. They had the host on Jesse Woo's video yesterday, her live, talking a lot about the behind the scenes of it all. It's been kind of a mess. I have not watched this Daeshon stuff yet, so we're gonna be watching it together because I think she just dropped this not too long ago. So let's get into it. As you guys know, I'll put it up. We will pause when we need to pause, and we will play when we need to play. So let's get into it. All right, let me just fix my. All right, here we go. Dear Future Wifey podcast with Liler, part one.
This interview with Tyler, and I had a lot of notes after all the lies that this man told, especially about me. Really, that's all I really want to focus on. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Daeshon, Bry's ex-wife, and the other mother of Kyra. I don't use social media like that, so this video is probably going to be hella choppy, and I don't know, it's not going to be pretty, but we'll get to the truth. So I took notes. Number one, and I just went and took notes while I'm watching the video. So number one, he says that we asked him to be the sperm donor. That's not true. I don't know what conversations him and Bry had outside of me, but it was presented to me that Bry had two friends, Tyler and another guy that was on her basketball team, that offered to donate sperm to us. It wasn't that we could not afford to go to a sperm bank. I did not want him to be our donor. That is 100% the truth. But Bry wanted Tyler to be the sperm donor. It was her first baby. I'm in an abusive relationship. I let her go with how she wanted to go. I just followed her lead. Tyler also said that.
I want to pause there. So that is something that I also said back in my commentary that I believed that there was no like, oh, they couldn't afford a donor. I did not know that it was. No, I do believe Daeshon said this originally in the other podcast she did that there was two people and they did end up deciding on Tyler. But yes, that is what I believed she said that there was no like they couldn't afford it. It was that Bry wanted it to be Tyler. And I do feel like we really need to like there is obviously something there between Tyler and Bry. Let's keep going.
It's a lie that I didn't want him to be the donor, and that he has text messages of us thanking him. I do not remember thanking that man, but I could see how we would thank him for giving us life. Like Lataria said, we can't produce a baby on our own. So, yes, I'm going to be thankful that I'm having a baby, or that what we set out to do is happening. But I never wanted him to be the sperm donor because, like I said in my interview with Ricky and Jesse, I always had suspicions that they were messing around. So why would I want you to be further connected to my family? Also, he says that he doesn't recall bringing his ex fiance to a baby shower. It wasn't a baby shower; it was the gender reveal.
Hmm.
And Ricky posted pictures of his fiance's Facebook post where she says she was brought to a gender reveal by him, and he said he never came to a baby shower. He was absolutely at our Maryland baby shower. We had two. He wasn't at the one in Louisiana, but he was at the one in Maryland. I cannot confirm or deny if his fiance cheated on him. I was not a part of their relationship, but the from what I know about her, I don't see that being the truth. Um,
So I do want to take a bit of a pause because honestly, I said that again in my commentary that like, okay, he's trying to present that they said thank you or she said thank you and that means that she was happy about him being the donor and it's like no, like obviously she just said thank you because you helped her to have a child, like with her wife at the time. I don't know. I just feel like Tyler and Ashley both do this thing where they use language in a certain, or they think they're using language in a certain way, where it's like a technical truth, but it's not. Like I don't. All right.
I do know that he cheated on her, though. I know that for a fact. And I know that because, like he said, Bry was one of the guys. And he would come to our house, he would drink, they would tell us everything. And if he wasn't telling me in particular, he's telling my wife, who's going to tell me. We were like attached at the hip. Um, and then he says that he didn't donate sperm until the end of their relationship. It's my understanding that he did not tell his ex fiance that he donated until he stepped up as Cairo's dad figure. That's when he had to tell her. They were not done. And if they were done, why did he bring her to the gender reveal?
Okay. Again, some clarification. And again, we obviously know that part was a lie because in Tyler's interview, he changed the sentence within the same like speech. First it was, "Oh, I stepped up at the end of the relationship." Then it was, "Oh, it was actually 3 months after we were done." So he obviously it was a lot because he just didn't give a solid time frame, but if you hear there, she said, "No, I had to tell her, at some point, and he stepped up." And it sounds like from her here that he was with her even after the fact when the baby was born, because that was when he stepped up as a father figure. Mm.
We found out the sex of our baby about 6 weeks. Well, not at 6 weeks. It was like between 6 and 8 weeks because we did the chromosome DNA, not the DNA test, the chromosome blood test, and they called us and told us the gender. It was super early in the pregnancy, but they were still together.
Hmm.
Okay, so I do agree with some of the things he said in the video, not much, but one of the things is we did not hash out exactly what the plan was. He definitely was supposed to be an uncle. He was going to have no say so in the baby's life. He was already uncle tied to my daughter. All of that is true. But he goes on to say that he came to the hospital and we were so happy and he was so happy for us, but then says, I just up and abandoned my wife. If we were so happy, and I'm talking fast because I'm trying to not have multiple parts, but if we were so happy, why would I up and leave for another man 2 weeks later? Everything, your story just does not add up. If we were so happy, I don't know. That just don't make sense. He also says that I was salty after I left for another man. So I left for another man and I'm in California supposedly having the time of my life being with this other guy, but I'm salty. So I filed for full custody. What am I salty about if I'm with another man and living my life? That does not make sense. I left because you had sex with my wife. That's why I left.
Yee! Because remember, he tried to say she left for another man. Then he tried to say a few minutes later that he left due to the assault or the abuse of Bry to Daeshon, which, by the way, you could tell in the video Tyler heard that with all of us. He knew nothing about that. It was very clear he had no details. He just tried to throw it out there, based off of some of the things he had to use against Bry from public videos. Um but that's what I said. I was like, how does it make sense that she was there and then weeks later she was gone? And she clearly said that the reason why she left, flat and clear, is because they had relations. Because I feel like I've also heard a lot of other kind of just forums that are talking about this, saying like, why was it so easy for Daeshon to just kind of give up the kid and this and that and the next thing? And I'm like, I don't know. When you find out that your partner was having relations with somebody else and they're the biological parents of that baby, and like you feel like you were kind of pushed out anyway because of the intimate relationship them two were having, I feel like it really puts you in an awkward spot with this child, especially when the two biological parents want to step up and kind of band and unite against you. But I don't know.
He says that I tried to take full custody of a child that I did not birth. Yes, I did not birth just this child, but I am on the birth certificate. You said that I was there the whole pregnancy, that you weren't a part of that. This was my child. So I have every right to ask for custody. But like I've said before, Bri filed for full custody first. This is after she blocked me on everything. When I left to California, we were co parenting across state lines. He's flying back and forth. The baby is flying back and forth between California and Maryland. He says he wanted to step up because she needed help. That's fine. You want to help her in Maryland, but he makes it sound like I left and I was doing nothing. He says how he's not able to discipline them. He made no decisions. I was doing all that over the phone, FaceTiming him every day. And when she would have issues at work, where I remember a time Cairo kept getting sick at daycare, me and my daughter flew back to Maryland and I stayed at her house and took care of my son so that she could go to work. There was never a situation where she just was so struggling so much and just needed so much help. If that was the case, why didn't you ask your wife? and co-parent to help you with the child. He also is talking about the fact that I um he acknowledges the fact that he knew that she was abusing me, right? Thank you for doing that. Because I definitely have not been lying about anything I said. But you go help your abusive friend take custody from me. Make that make sense. Then
Biggest question I had. You can't throw out the abuse as a jab towards Bry, but then in the same breath go on this whole tangent about how you helped Bry get custody because her she was such a good friend to you and you felt bad for her. It's like, what is it? Is she an abuser and terrible person, or is she someone you wanted to help?
and he talks about how I backed off because she had all this support. That's 100% fact. I'm in California. Our court case is in Maryland. The whole friend group is rallying behind Bri, and they are prepared to lie in court and say she wasn't abusing me and that I was not taking care of my son, and that Tyler has been there the whole time. So she's instead of us, she skipped mediation and she wanted to go straight to trial. I could not mentally handle to keep doing all that, especially when I had nobody to back up my claims. All my family's in California. Nobody was going to fly out there and defend me. So I backed off. And I just want to be clear that at no time, he keeps painting the picture that I abandoned him, but at no time was that the case. I even offered to move back to Maryland, but Bryce said if I moved back to Maryland, that she would ask to get transferred to another duty station. I was not about to run around America chasing her. I would have been.
And that's what I continue to say. Like, it is very, very clear. And it is an awful situation because at the end of the day, courts favor biological parents. Like, that's just reality. Yes, Daeshon was on the birth certificate, but at the end of the day, who are the courts going to favor? Tyler and Bri, because they are the biological parents, and that's just really how it works. And then this is Maryland. Like, I live in Maryland, and I'll be sure it's a blue state, but like, some of the laws over here, especially regarding children born into marriages and same-sex marriage and things like that, it's a little wonky. So I understand where Daeshon's coming from. I do. I think that she really did have her back up against the wall. And at the end of the day, if Bry and Tyler teamed up on this woman to ensure that that child was not seen by her, I really don't think there was a lot she could do.
And getting dragged through court just like he is now. Um, Let me see what else my notes. And I even reached out to her chain of command in the military, telling them that she was not allowing me to see my child and that was against the law. She told her boss, I don't care what you do. If you try to force me to let her see my son, I will, I'm not going to do it. So if you want to kick me out the military, kick me out because I'm not going to do it. This is the type of menace that I was dealing with. Okay. As far as Bride's mom, yes, she is a fuck. I don't know if I can cuss. She is a menace. Okay. We've never gotten along. She's never liked that Bride was gay. Be abusing her daughter growing up, all of that. Bride is abusive because of her mama. I 100% could see her mom flaunting Tyler around Louisiana to, because she felt embarrassed that her daughter was gay. But now she could say she had that plausible deniability because she has a baby daddy. My interactions with Bride's mom, even after having my son, um, while I was still there, the reason why I actually finally decided to leave after he was born was because of Bride's mom and her taking my son out of my arms while we were taking a nap, her cussing Bri out because she wouldn't allow her to give Cairo his first bath without me there. Her mom, even when we were moving from one apartment to the next apartment after Cairo was born, her mom was sending threatening text messages telling her how she was going to beat her up because Bride defended me against her. And she's looking for her in the apartment complex, saying that her daughter just had a baby and she's threatening her. And probably
And just to be said, like, I don't think any of us out here were looking at Bry's mom alone, individually, as a source of anything. At least, let me speak for myself. For me, I was like, oh, her story matches a lot of what Deshawn and Bry said, but like her life. I didn't cover that here. Like, I'm gonna be honest, there are some people where you could see they a little iffy, and she's one of them. So that's the reason why, at least for me, I haven't covered her lives or any of the stuff that she's really said online. So I think again, that's another area where they can agree that Bry's mom maybe is not the greatest person in the world.
Probably one of the biggest lies is that I came back and said that I wanted to have more kids with her, and we used vials that we saved from Cairo to have the twins. Number one, Bright mostly dates women. Um, she would not go on here and lie and say that she had sex with a man. That makes no sense. Number two, he mentions the device that we used and how there was like a cup and all this stuff. He would come to our house, use the bathroom downstairs, do his business, give us the cup. As soon as he would leave, we would go put it inside of her. There was no saving. It's literally a cup. It's called Stork OTC, I think is the website. I just looked it up. There's no way to save it. So he goes from saying that we used the cup to saying that there's vials or capsules that we saved. I did leave after the baby was born, and then I came back maybe 3 months later because, of course, just like any relationship, I've been with this woman for a long time. I love her. I want my family. I'm running out of time. Sorry.
Okay, and before we go to the next part, I think this is a good part to hone in on because yes, a lot of y'all even commented in my comments, and I just didn't say it in the video myself because I was like so riled up watching Tyler lie like this. But yes, you can't save sperm in a freezer, at least not in a normal freezer. You can't save vials like that. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever what he was saying. Let's go on to the next part where she explains more of it.
Okay, I think I left off talking about him saying I came back. So just like any other relationship, it wasn't a clean cut. We broke up and we're still married. We're still, like I said, co-parenting, so we're in contact a lot, and the feelings were still there. So I did move back to California in September, but by December or January, I'm back in Maryland. Packed up my apartment, everything, and moved back to into the apartment with her. She never tells me Tyler has moved. She said in her interview that Tyler had moved some of his clothes into the guest bedroom because he was there helping her. I wasn't aware of any of that. I was not a part of any conversation with him saying that I was back and that he needed to exit Cairo's life.
And I want to really hone in on that because remember, Tyler's narrative is that she came back, they were together, and he said he and Bry sat down and had a conversation about how they wanted to expand their family, and that's when either he used this saved up frozen sperm that was in their freezer, I guess, or that he donated more in order to create a child. Now, she's saying that actually Tyler was sleeping in the guest bedroom of their apartment. She had no idea about it. So at this point, when Daeshon came back, and this is 3 months later, she gave us a solid timeline. So I'm more apt and more bound to believe somebody who gave a solid timeline. She said that in December, she had come back and Tyler was already living in the guest bedroom. Let's just keep that in mind.
But when I was back, I was only back for a week, maybe 2 weeks,
Mhm.
because Bry attacked me, physically assaulted me in a grocery store in the Food Lion in Laurel, Maryland.
Not in Laurel, Maryland. For all y'all who live in Maryland, not in the Food Lion. Jesus.
In front of my daughter and two of her friends who were visiting. Um, Within a day or two of that, of course, I'm realizing she's never going to change. So I go back home, and that was the last time that we tried to make our relationship work.
So hear that out. Daeshon said she came back for 2 weeks. And again, I am apt to believe the person that can give me solid numbers. So she came back for 2 weeks. She was attacked in the Lion in Laurel, and then she headed back out in front of her daughter and friends.
Um, so the twins were not, we never talked about expanding our family when I came back for that short amount of time. We had a newborn, and my daughter was maybe two or three. I think she was two or three, something like that. We didn't need more kids. That was never a conversation. Bri already admitted the twins were conceived naturally. I believe the only reason why he doesn't want to say that is because of his court case. He's trying to separate himself from parentage with any of the kids so that he won't have the financial responsibility anymore. And I can't remember if I said this already, but he says that, we save vials or something like that. You can't just save sperm in a regular freezer. That's something you'd have to do at a sperm bank that he keeps saying we could not afford. So there's no possible way that we could have saved some of his sperm. And like I said, he only donated sperm to us two times. Whatever her and him did to have Cairo, it was not turkey baster method like we were using or we were supposed to be using. He says that he didn't go to doctor's appointments, but Bri already released the video of him at the ultrasound at doctor's appointments. So we know that's not true with the twins. And as far as Cairo was concerned, he was going to doctor's appointments with him too. When we were going through our divorce, there were some health issues I wanted to bring up to the judge. I got Cairo's medical records, and in the nurse's notes, saw baby came to appointment with mother and father. That's how I started to realize how active he was in Kyra's life. Now, I think it's easier for some people to try to believe Tyler because he sprinkles in some truths with his lies. As far as Bri being in relationships back to back, that's a fact. I think that she keeps women around to help raise the kids. When we were together, I was a stay-at-home mom, and when we broke up, she needed to quickly find somebody else to help her raise them kids because her job is does take a lot of her time. Um, Bri is one of those people that if she can't control you, she doesn't want you around. When
And that's very clear for the record. Like, it is very, very clear to me that that part of it was likely true. Again, as Bryce said, as Daeshon says, as I said in my analysis yesterday, I think Tyler does tell sprinkles of truth. You know what I'm saying? But then he lies so much. But he has credibility because maybe one line that he said was true. A line here, a line there is true. So again, the part about Bry being in multiple relationships, I could believe that. I think that could be true. I think Tyler weaponized that a bit though, because it's very clear some of what he was saying regarding that didn't make a lot of sense.
I left, that's why she completely blocked me on everything, and I could not get in contact with her or my son until I think 2 days after the divorce was final is when she contacted me again. So I could see her pushing Tyler out or pulling him in and out of his relationship with the kids, but I'm not around there. I'm not around, so I don't know what they got going on with. My personal experience though is like I said, she contacted me 2 days after the divorce, and she allowed me to come back into my son's life. I could not be his mom, and I wasn't allowed to talk to him very often because I think she didn't want us to develop a relationship or keep that relationship going after she had no contact with me and him for over a year. But she was back in my daughter's life as her mother. She's the only mother that my daughter knew at the time. And she gets with her now fiance, and she calls me and lets me know how her fiance called me actually and told me that she was upset because she overheard my daughter calling Cairo and the twins her siblings, and that these are her kids now, and her kids are their siblings, not my daughter.
Ah, what? Oh nah. Oh nah. That's not that's not cool. That's not cool. That's really, really messed up. So just to reframe, she is agreeing that Bri gets into relationships. When she got into the relationship with her now fiance, excuse me, Bri decided that, or Bri's fiance called Daeshon saying, "Hey, I'm upset because I heard that, you know, she was calling the twins in Cairo her siblings, her daughter. Her daughter was calling the twins in Cairo her siblings, even though I guess now she told her they're not. Those are my kids? Yikes. That's not good. That's a bad look.
Shortly after that, Bri cut me and my daughter off again for the sake of her relationship. So he talks about some girl naming the twins. I don't know anything about that. Bri told me during that phone call when after the divorce was final when she called me, she told me that the twins were named after my daughter. I already knew that though because their names are Kamari and Callie. Um, Callie is because we're from California. My daughter is named after Kamora Lee Simmons, and her nickname was Kimmy, and she wanted to call her daughter Cammy, and they found a name that fit that nickname. So Kamari, just like Kamor, and Kimmy and Cammy. Um, I said my daughter's named after Kamari Lee Simmons. Tyler's middle name just so happens to be Lee, but Kamari Lee, Kamora Lee. You get where we're going with this. And then my daughter's full name is Kamora Layla Marie. The I'm almost positive is Callie Marie. But either way, Bride told me herself that she named her twins, after my daughter, even though she abandoned her. And she said that that was her way to keep a piece of my daughter forever or some.
This is weird. This is weird. This is very weird. Again, I think there are some murky waters with Bry as well, and we all know that. I think multiple things can be true at once because like a lot of people need it to be one person's completely right and one person is completely wrong. And if I'm being honest, if I had to guess out of the three of these people, the person who's probably telling the most truths is Daeshon because she has nothing to lose. There's nothing really on the line for her right now. No, no, let me say that differently. She's not invested in anything at the current moment. So there would be no reason for her to come out and tell truths other than to tell them. Like, it's not like she's going to get with Bry. It's not like she and Tyler are friends. Clearly, her and the kids, it's cut. So I just feel like I believe her. I believe her. And I could believe that, again, this whole thing about Bry and the way she is in relationships, I could believe that. I could believe that.
Now, as far as the abuse is concerned, he mentions it multiple times. And at first, it's almost like he's doing it in solidarity. But then he bashes me for going back to her after she was abusing me. But whatever trauma I have that made me feel like it was okay to allow this woman to do all the heinous things that she did to me is none of his concern. I don't know why he even felt um, that it was okay for him to talk about it, but I think it was more so him trying to say like Bri's not a good person, which, and my opinion is she ain't. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't appreciate that.
And that was very clear because it's also very clear Tyler does not know a lot of the inner workings of the abuse. He, according to his words, right, he says he wasn't even friends with Daeshon like that. His friend was Bry, not Daeshon. So therefore, yes, he was just bringing it up to use it as a weapon against Bry, but in the same sense, it's also bash Daeshon. It's crazy.
So he does say that y'all missed the or y'all lost the plot when it came to me bringing up the abuse, and then when I did my interview, everybody in the comments was supportive, and Jesse and Ricky were supportive, and then they go do the interview with Bry, and now it's let's go set up, not a GoFundMe. He called it a domestic violence GoFundMe, but then when she says her story, everybody forgets that she was abusive to me. I know people say the money was for the kids or whatever. I don't care about the money. And my thing was never to come on social media to get a platform, anything of that nature, which is why I never get on my own TikTok and share my story. But I agree that if he had domestic abuse allegations against him, there would be a much bigger issue. Whereas with her, y'all have let her off the hook. Um,
And I do think it's fair. I will say this, and I want to be very I want to use wording carefully. I think that with this being a same sex couple, I think people weigh things differently. I'm going to put it that way. And there has been a lot of people, including myself, who have said the abuse is horrible. This is crazy. Like, let's not let that get swept under the rug. But I do think mentally, unfortunately, a lot of people weigh this abuse because it's two women very differently than if they would weigh it between a man and a woman. So I see where she is going with that.
Tyler and I know her very well. So he mentions how during her interview, her mask slips sometimes and her character pokes through. And that's 100% fact. As I watched her interview with Ricky and Jesse, I'm seeing the facial expressions that she makes when she gets angry, while she's talking about her situation, and then her try to laugh or smile to get back into character. But I know that face, and I know what.
Bree do always be looking mad at hell. I noticed that when I was watching. She always be looking mad as itch. And it's understandable because I do think some of this is frustrating, but I see where she's coming from too, because she do be looking mad. I noticed that in them interviews.
what uh what pain comes after that phase. But y'all don't know that, so I don't expect y'all to. Then he talks about the text messages that Bri released saying that Ashley wasn't his type, which I don't care about. But Bri released the email between them where Tyler is like, I'm going to tell Diane everything, her current fiance. And she goes, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. But clearly, their entanglement did not end with me. Okay, and the freak offs 100% happened. I have no reason to make that up. And it was, I never met somebody who participated in nothing like that. So a lot of my friends had heard these stories as well years ago. Um, but the friend whose wife they were having the freak offs with, his name is Blunt. He was married to a girl named Vanessa. They had two kids together. And when he was done letting his friends run through her, he started messing with a black girl who they started running through as well. um there was another friend, Jan, who participated in it. Like, I don't have to lie, so I have all the details. And he said, why would I know this information? Because she was one of the guys. Y'all would come and tell us or tell her and brag. And of course, my wife is going to tell me. And then it really became big when y'all were under investigation when Blunt's wife, Vanessa, said it was non consensual. Um, and he says, like, why would he tell me that my wife participated in a threesome and was in a corner masturbating? Because I pulled you to the side, like I said multiple times, and asked, what is going on? Tell me, did you have sex with her to have this baby? And he was like, no, but I will say that she did participate in this. This is, but I felt like he told me to try to build rapport so that I would say, okay, well, he told me this thing, so I can believe that he didn't sleep with her, but you did sleep with her. Ran out of time again.
And I do think the freak offs, like, that was such a specific thing. I just can't see a world where that's a lie. Hey, that was just Tyler definitely blowing smoke, being like, that never happened. But I do think it's interesting again, where she again builds this pattern for us that, like, Tyler will tell like a modicum of some form of a truth or say something. And again, I think the biggest crux of this story and the part that like makes Daeshon look really bad is that both Bri and Tyler are hiding the conception of Cairo and like or the sun, and again, I think there's definitely something there between the two of them, whether they had feelings, whether they were friends with benefits, whatever the case was for Tyler and Bri. It's just not being admitted that that happens. And I think it just makes everything look terrible for Daeshon, even though I think she has a valid reason to feel the way she feels. And again, I had a lot of empathy for her because seeing like other videos or seeing like other people being like, wow, Daeshon and Tyler, or yeah, Daeshon and Tyler are just as much of deadbeats as each other is like crazy work. Crazy work. Oh my god, I didn't notice her daughter's face before.
Okay, this is the last part, I promise. So he talks about Ricky. Well, he don't name them specifically, but he says that there's these fake journalists doing all these stories and they don't even have proof. But anytime I said anything to Ricky, I had to send evidence. If I didn't have evidence, she didn't post it. So that's not the truth at all. Everything that I said, I had receipts for. I still have receipts for. And the only reason why I ever came forward is because people were lying on me. Stop saying that I abandoned him and I will shut up. Just stop lying. That's why I posted the very first thing on my page was don't lie on me and I won't tell the truth on you. I would have never came forward with the abuse. I would have never said nothing if y'all would have just left me alone. But you're not gonna run this narrative that I abandoned the family that I fought very hard for, that you played a pivotal role in destroying. And as far as TikTok journalists are concerned, he says that nobody ever asked me the hard questions like, why did I leave and why did I come back? Why did I leave, Tyler? Because you screwed my wife. That's why I left. So after years of abuse, Last straw, babe. Last straw. You slept with a man. You told me you were.
And it's very funny because, again, Bry and Tyler leave that out. They both leave it so murky how the son was conceived. And both of them have tried to take shots at Daeshon. And they always give these vague statements. She up and left. She went away. She did. And again, as I just said a few minutes ago, I feel like Daeshon, out of anybody in this, has absolutely no reason to lie, come on the stand, nothing. There is nothing for her to gain from this whatsoever. And I feel like out of all the people, she is clearly telling the most truths. Like, she has timelines. She can fully remember her story. Even when she went on Jesse Wu and Storytime with Ricky, when they had that interview, everything was clear and concise. I think everyone else in the story, even Bry, sorry, but they have been vague with certain parts of the story on purpose. Whereas I feel like Daeshon is the only person who has come with dates, timelines, amounts of time. It was from here to here to here. And I appreciate that on her because I do think there are some people that are really coming at her trying to act like she's a deadbeat. And I just don't see that. At the end of the day, the courts always are going to favor the biological parents. Courts do not favor same sex parents. This is Maryland. This is considered the South, y'all. And don't start arguing with me that Maryland's not the South because it is. Okay. As someone who lives in Maryland now and grew up in Massachusetts, this is the South, period. Like, they're not going to favor her. And it's very clear to me what happened regarding the son.
You were a lesbian. I'm out. That's why I left. I left because you tore up my marriage and your engagement all in one stride. Now, what killed me the most was him saying, well, not the most, but him saying that people say they support Black love and Black men and women, but the Black people are the ones that are tearing him down in the comments, him and his wife down in the comments. But a big part of uplifting Black people is holding them accountable.
Period. I hate when y'all be on this like, because same thing happened on my channel with certain people that I talk about some, how are you a Black woman tearing down this person? It's like, please, we cannot blindly allow these things to happen and run rampant in our communities. We just can't. Like, there's a time and a place to talk about and hold people accountable. And as Black people, Black women in particular, a lot of us that talk about this are Black women. We're obviously going to want to hold the people accountable in our community because one, we relate to it, but two, it's like, who is going to be the one to say these things? If you can't even talk about it inward, how are we supposed to make a difference outward? So I agree with her on that. Daeshon, girl. I mean, I've always believed all of Daeshon's story because her story has always been clear, concise, and to the point.
And that's what he's not ready to be held accountable for his actions, but we're going to do it every time. Now, he had a lot to say about Brian, her current fiance, who I also wouldn't have spoke on if this girl wasn't constantly viewing my page. And yes, I see you in my profile views, or commenting lies about me that she has nothing to do with because she was not around when any of this happens. But anyways, um, somebody did an investigation or looked into Maryland court records and saw that the current fiance just got divorced. So it makes sense to me why she would not be claiming her on social media or anything like that because it's still adultery and she's still in the military. Um,
Ooh, y'all heard that. The current wife just got divorced. She's not claiming her because apparently this woman as well is from the military and it would be considered adultery. And in the military, adultery gets you a dishonorable discharge. So,
so had the girl's husband came forward, Bry would have had another Article 15 for adultery again.
ooh, Lord.
Um, but he talks about them playing house with his kids, right? Of course, he didn't call them his kids, but playing house with the kids. But y'all want me to fund it. But you played house with my son.
Ooh,
That's how you got here,
eh,
playing house with my wife.
period.
I don't feel bad for you, babe. And lastly, he doesn't mention the fact that he was living with Bry. He doesn't never mentions that. Y'all had a whole relationship, whether regardless of if either of y'all want to claim that or not, but both of y'all are scorned and bitter about the situation. Um, Oh, and two, I wanted to talk about with in Bry's interview with Ricky and Jesse. She says that she didn't know if Tyler's fiance knew or not. That's a blatant lie. She knew for a fact that Tyler was not going to tell his fiance. When we started talking about donating and things like that, that was part of the conversation. He said that he wasn't going to tell her because nobody was ever supposed to know that he was the dad.
Wow. So he was really going to pretend like it was just going to be an inner secret between the two, between, I guess, the three of them, that Tyler was the donor. I guess they really, and I'm going to say heavy on Bry and Tyler because Daeshon obviously and clearly said multiple times she did not want Tyler to be the donor. She wanted a random donor. um they were really gonna play it like Tyler was just a random uncle, a fun uncle, and not say anything. Which, for the record, how in the world did y'all expect that was gonna happen? I just want to know how they thought that that was gonna be a thing. Tyler and Bry. I just have questions.
Anyways. So she knows for a fact that he didn't tell her until after I left Maryland. So this is after the baby was born. He had months to tell her. He did not.
And again, clarification of the timeline. Tyler and his fiance were still together when the baby was born. Because remember, he tried to say that he and his fiance ended the engagement 3 months prior to when he donated. Then he changed it and said, oh, it was at the end of our engagement, but we were on the outs, but we weren't living together. So again, clarification on the timeline. Who do I believe? The person that's giving an exact timeline, an exact timeline. That's the person I believe.
Um, and while we're on Bry, in her interview, she says that Tyler abandoned the kids another time um, for a year, and she found out that he was in love with another woman or he was in love with someone else. It's funny to me the way you put that, like you were a little jealous, right? I don't know. I'm showing my petty side, and I'm not supposed to be doing that right now, but I'm upset. I can't lie. For everybody that's reached out to me and said I didn't deserve any of this, and um, they are sorry that I don't have my son and all that. Like, of course, there's anger there. Of course, there's hurt feelings there. I don't even date women anymore because of this situation. She ruined it for all of y'all. I know people been DMing and things like that, but I don't do women at all. Um, but yeah, situation has been extremely triggering to have to relive all of this and not only relive it, but have to defend everything that I've done in the past when it was things that were done to me. Um, and also to have to see people sympathize with your abuser, yeah, that's hard. Um, Especially when her life is in shambles because of the choices that she made and because she chose to have a family with Tyler instead of the person that she was married to. So I don't feel bad for nobody but the kids. Um, Karma is a, you know, the rest of the phrase.
I don't feel bad for nobody but the kids. Period. Um, there we go. And again, I think that obviously the situation with Bry is terrible. I've always said there are holes in Bry's story. I think obviously one can feel empathy for the fact that maybe she doesn't have her kids, but when the context is put in there, you definitely see that both she and Tyler, I don't know y'all, but both she and Tyler are kind of diabolical. You know, they are kind of diabolical. Again, I am apt to believe the person that gives the most detail in these situations because that often tends to be the person telling the truth. And the person that has given the most detail out of the three has been Daeshon. Day in, day out. She gave us the most context to anything. So there we go. That is her response to it. I think she definitely cleared up a lot of the questions I had after watching Tyler's interview. So, yeah, if you made it to this point of the video, thank you so much for watching. You know, please support the channel, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.